WWE are reportedly performing cuts following Vince McMahon's return. We have the reason why the Usos are defending the tag titles separately, and Tony Khan has put CM Punk's AEW situation on ice. Stay tuned for all the deets. So we're kicking off video 2 with the news that WWE are reportedly performing cuts, and this comes from Fightful. They revealed that last night WWE were reportedly performing cuts. It wasn't revealed how many people have been cut or who had been cut at this time, but it has been previously reported that people close to McMahon have started to make their return to the company, which we've seen obviously initially anyway. This all comes after several major names have departed the company in recent weeks, of course, starting with Stephanie McMahon's resignation, and this is not unexpected.
Yeah, it's not that unexpected. To clarify, it's cuts in their office, not roster cuts.
Staff, like salaried office staff, not independent contractor staff wrestlers.
But it isn't unexpected, despite all the meetings that have been going on backstage that we've heard reports of, that it's going, it's business as normal. Nothing's changing. Yeah. Don't you worry. He's not changing anything. And there's some cuts. We don't know who's been cut, as Sam said there, but it is kind of worrying.
I think that it was always going to happen. I think Vince would surround himself with people that he's comfortable working with. And so if there has just been a massive shuffle, he's come back and he doesn't really know anybody that closely compared to how he got on with prior staff. I think he would always try and bring these staff back. The most important thing is preserving that creative control.
As long as you've got
that needs to be kept just, arm's length. You can, say what you want. You can talk about it. You can suggest things. You can do whatever. But so long as Vince doesn't have total control of creative, I think that stock price might not suffer too much, and that the television itself is going to continue to be engaging and feel a lot more fresh than it has in, I'm just going to say, 2 decades nearly.
There's been very few moments of freshness. Yeah, the last moments of freshness is probably the Attitude Era, right?
Attitude Era. NXT, Ruthless Aggression, but it was always kind of, you have your big landmark moments, and then there's a lot of meandering.
Yeah, they were going for the big moments, but it's a shame, always a shame to see people getting their jobs cut. Hopefully it wasn't too bad. We don't know how many people. But it is a worrying sign of things going forward, right?
Sending our thoughts to anybody who is being affected by these cuts right now. Moving over to the AEW side of the fence, though, it appears as though Colt Cabana is once again working behind the scenes in All Elite Wrestling, with reports suggesting that he's been backstage at recent shows. Now, Dave Meltzer wrote in the Wrestling Observer newsletter that Cabana has been working as a backstage producer for AEW, with him recently shown in the background on the most recent episode of Being the Elite on YouTube. And this is a good get.
Yeah, I think it's fantastic.
He's a very dynamic, very entertaining performer. He's got to be able to just, on the spot, hey, pitch a match. Boom, there you go. Like he's going to have so much knowledge, given how far he's traveled, all of the company he's worked for, all of the different styles of opponents he's went up against over the years. I mean, he's as you say, he's an absolute veteran of the business. So he could easily, he's a big asset to them especially in a producing role. It's unfortunate that his on-screen stuff, he hasn't had that sort of push in AEW. And there's always going to be that halo of Punk sort of hanging around, isn't there? Where, any situation involving Colt Cabana and Punk, with them being former friends, and obviously everything that came out during the press conference and everything, kind of restoking those flames a bit. Anything involving either of these two people is kind of going to get a rumor mill going or get people kind of muttering about it. But I think that, as a producer, you probably couldn't find anybody, better out there for the style of talent he'll be working with. I
mean, absolutely. He's a veteran of Ring of Honor. He's done some WWE in the past. And
similar position to like Chris Daniels, right?
Yeah, exactly. And especially, I think we'll see his influence if he's going to continue in this role. We'll see his influence in anything involving comedy. He's a fantastic comedy wrestler. So anything involving Orange Cassidy and the Best Friends, keep an eye out. I imagine he will probably have some influence in there. But I'm really glad he's back. Hopefully it's a sign that he's maybe going to stick with AEW, maybe Fingers do some crossed. Stuff with Ring of Honor, but stay with AEW primarily.
Yeah, I'm kind of keen to see how it's going to develop with him in Ring of Honor, because I think there's got to be Colt. It's Ring of Honor. Yeah. There's got to be Colt in Ring of Honor.
Even as an active wrestler in Ring of Honor, producer in AEW, I think that's a decent spot. overall for him.
Well, moving back over to the WWE, and I said the American side of the fence.
The American side of the fence.
The American side of the fence. They're both American companies,
both Americans.
Sam. To the WWE side of the fence, we've got the reason the Usos are defending their tag titles separately, don't we, Fraser?
They do indeed. The Usos have recently we've had number one contenders crowned on Raw for the Raw tag team titles, and we've currently got a tournament going on to crown the number one contenders on the SmackDown tag team titles. Well, Dave Meltzer, writing in the Wrestling Observer newsletter, says this is Triple H's call, designed to give fans the impression that the Usos could lose one set of title belts while keeping the other. Meltzer noted that the hopes is that fans will buy into this idea, as it's more likely that the titles could switch hands rather than just, stay with the Usos, having both belts, keep with them. It does make it more unpredictable. Having both belts being defended in the same week, it's like, ooh, they could be burnt out after their first match, which costs them the second one, or which team
order
is more
could
like
go, or could they win both? Could they lose both? Like, there's a lot.
It makes it so much more unpredictable, because right now it's kind of felt like a safe bet. It's like every title defense is like, right, of course the Usos are going to keep both sets of belts because it makes sense for the story, but having them separate, it's like, ooh, Judgment Day could win these belts.
For me, it just works because, just because you've got two sets of belts doesn't mean you get to defend them half the time. There's still tag teams on each side of the company that are wanting those belts. And so if you have two sets of belts, you've got to do 2 times the defending.
Becky Lynch had to do it.
Yeah, to me, it works out that, if you have to make the double shot Raw and SmackDown, that's just the price you pay for being double champs.
And I think it will definitely play into going into WrestleMania season. In the fact that the next few months are very vital for the Bloodline storyline.
But it's that uncertainty with that kind of logic, I think, that just makes it like, it's a nice little compelling angle, isn't it?
Sense. It really works. I'm really hoping Sammy and Kevin get those belts off them at some point. But I say that now, but I don't know which belts.
Yeah.
Which belts? Give it either.
Either.
But I think
just any. Just give them some belts.
It's a good way to get the belts off of the Usos, but keeping the Usos strong, because it's...
Oh, yeah.
And also feeding into the Bloodline story of like, they've lost one set of belt, and now Roman's not happy.
Yeah.
And the downfall of the Bloodline.
And there's so much room you can play with there, isn't there? But we were talking earlier about returns to WWE for the Rumble, but just generally regarding a WWE return, FTR's AEW Future is currently the subject of speculation, with the top guys presently on sabbatical ahead of their contract expiration in April. They were speaking on the FTR podcast, where Harwood spoke about an incident at Clash of Champions 2019, in which Vince McMahon told them that they are just great wrestlers, that's all. That's one of the things I can't ever forget, and we talk about what I'm going to do in the future, and I think about that, and with him back at the helm makes things a little questionable for me. So potentially this is FTR avoiding WWE until, potentially any sale, or Vince McMahon isn't in that chair anymore.
Because there's been a lot of speculation that FTR could go back to WWE. We know Triple H really likes FTR. He pushed them very heavily in NXT.
It'd be a monumental, homecoming return, I guess, for the WWE universe to see FTR emerge, at the top of that ramp again.
Absolutely. And now the incident that he was speaking about on the podcast was at Clash of Champions 2019. It was a match between them and New Day, and they came back through the ropes, and Vince was praising the New Day supposedly massively, and just was like, FTR, you're like Arn Anderson and Tully. You're just great wrestlers. That's all, nothing else. And Dax implies that he meant it as an insult, but I said that was the greatest compliment they could have got.
I take umbrage with him just labeling Arn as just a great wrestler.
Come on with that.
He was one of the only good things about 95 when we were in 95 on WCW podcast.
You're doing that in the classic, tune in the classic review on the podcast feed. But I'm hopeful that FTR will go back to WWE at some point. I think they've been good in AEW, but I feel if under Triple H and WWE, they could be fantastic. But uncertainty, that's for sure, in the future.
Well, let us know what you guys think below about what lies ahead for FTR. But we're going to close things out today with this video by just cycling back to, we mentioned Colt Cabana, so we got to mention CM Punk, don't we? So a resolution on CM Punk's future with All Elite Wrestling is still some time away, according to Dave Meltzer of the Wrestling Observer newsletter. Punk suffered torn triceps in the main event of All Out, and this ultimately means any final decision on Punk's future is months away. On Punk's side, it's believed that AEW President Tony Khan has put Punk on ice for now. No ideas have been presented to the 44-year-old for a return, but there has also been no talk as late of having him being released.
Which implies that sort of the rumours of the contract buyout seem to have just been quietly put down and they're not happening.
From the get-go, I was just like, mentally, like, I think that if this can all somehow blow over, everything will just be normal again.
Yeah.
And I think that with enough time for people to calm down, and maybe just some extra zeros, then you might be able to turn this into a very, very good blood feud. But
it's got potential, right?
It's really dependent on a lot of factors. It's one of those things where all of the planets will have to align, I think, for it to become a reality.
Yeah.
But it's certainly interesting that the talk of the buyout has kind of diminished a little bit, and that it seems like Punk's more just being not so much exiled, he's just being sent away for a little bit, and he's going to be brought back potentially if that lines up.
It seems the fact that they're putting it on ice, it does add to the fact that it's like, right, let's let this cool down.
Yeah,
on ice, cool down. But like, he's about halfway through his recovery from his injury that he suffered at All Out, which would place his return round about Double or Nothing time, roughly. I could see it happening. I could see this being a way to go like, look, we're going to just sit you down. We're going to work through everything.
Yeah.
If you've got any issues, let's talk. We need a public apology.
Slaps the checkbook down.
There's been talk that Punk has got the wrestling bug again. And really, I don't see him going to WWE. If he's going to wrestle, it's in AEW.
I think, it would be somehow more monumental than him turning up in AEW if he returned to WWE. And I can already hear keyboards clacking, I know. But I just feel like the fact that it was, that's somewhere I never see Punk again.
Yeah.
So if he was to somehow go, you know what? No, I don't want any part of this anymore. I'm going to go do this instead. That could really ignite something bad between both companies.
He's out for the next few months, so I guess we're gonna have to just wait and see. But I think he's going to be back in AEW. But it interesting. Can put it on ice means that it's not happening anytime soon.
But it's not totally. The door hasn't fully closed like the door's closing now on this video. We'll give you a quick reminder that at 5 p.m. tonight, if you keep an eye on our socials, we are going to be dropping something out of the ordinary. We're going to be dropping something strange and that you don't want to miss. And it's not something we do very often. So it's definitely one worth checking.
Oh, absolutely.
But yeah, catch you in a bit.